Good evening, you're watching Mongolian World. I'm your host, Anur Gambatar. And for top stories, the third state central hospital has introduced a new technology for heart freezing treatment. The Confederation of Mongolian Journalists is organizing regional training. And the Rio Tinto Mongolia provides 7.4 billion MNT to support forest conservation in Mongolia. And for the news, stay tuned. In a groundbreaking medical development, Mongolia is set to introduce cutting-edge freezing ablation therapy for the treatment of atrial fibrillation. This innovative procedure, set to begin Friday at the Third State Central Hospital, promises new hope for patients battling this common heart arrhythmia. Cardiac arrhythmia is a prevalent condition among Mongolians, with atrial fibrillation being the most common type. Atrial fibrillation can lead to complications such as stroke, heart failure, and even death, significantly impacting individuals' quality of life. One of the primary treatments for this condition includes burn therapy and ablation therapy. With ablation therapy, freezing ablation has recently gained importance and is set to be introduced at the Third State Central Hospital. Due to the delays caused by the COVID-19 pandemic, the opportunity to implement freezing ablation treatment in Mongolia has now arisen through collaboration with Chinese professors and the Medtronic company. Preparations are underway to commence treatment for select patients within the next few days. More than 800 people have undergone ablation therapy, making it possible to offer this treatment in our country. The main technological advantage of freezing ablation is its greater effectiveness compared to burning ablation, and it doesn't damage heart tissue. It is a highly effective method of treatment. The professors at Rio Tinto Hospital were the first to introduce this method in the People's Republic of China and developed and approved the national standard guidelines for this technology. Before the introduction of the new heart freezing treatment technology in Mongolia, heart procedures were done through burning. However, it is believed that with the adoption of the new heart freezing treatment technology, the operation time will be shortened, patients will experience less pain, and complications will be reduced. Additionally, the number of subsequent repeat operations can be minimized. Doctors and experts from both countries have made all the necessary preparations for the equipment and initial patient treatment psychology at the Third State Central Hospital. Therefore, I am confident that tomorrow's first treatment will be successful. Atrial fibrillation is strongly influenced by age. A 2019 study conducted in Mongolia revealed that the prevalence of atrial fibrillation among citizens aged 15 to 60 is notably high at 5.3%. This prevalence increases significantly in the 60 to 70 age group, which exacerbates the associated difficulties. The loss of working capacity in older age groups also leads to a surge in fixed healthcare costs and services. Treatment for atrial fibrillation focuses on preventing stroke and alleviating symptoms, with ablation therapy being a key method alongside drug therapy. Improved access to previously unavailable treatments enhances the chances of successful intervention, and freezing ablation is one such method for heart arrhythmias. There are more than 4,000 members of the Confederation of Mongolian Journalists. Regional meetings are being planned to interact with each member, hear their opinions, and discuss issues specific to the industry. The meetings begin in the Western region.
The Confederation of Mongolian Journalists began organizing training sessions for journalists and media workers in the Western region. Over 50 participants from Hovd, Oos, Bayolgi, Говьалтай, and Zahon provinces actively engaged in sessions examining media trends. Of course, social issues, wage issues, and issues with a stable workforce must come first in any discussion. There aren't many journalists in the area who have finished their professions. Numerous issues are being created by unprofessional media workers who threaten the integrity and dignity of journalists and the industry. The fact that a single person often fulfills the roles of a journalist, cameraman, editor, and director demonstrate the resilience of local media organizations, allowing them to thrive for many years. However, this practice comes with its own set of challenges, including ongoing issues within local media, such as low pay, insufficient social security, and the lack of cooperation from government institutions institutions, which are obligated to work alongside the media.
Rather than dwelling on complaints, our media professionals and journalists demonstrate a genuine willingness to collaborate and have the optimistic outlook that many challenges can be overcome through collective effort. I'm deeply appreciative of this spirit. Most importantly, they champion the call for professional, gender-sensitive and ethically driven journalism. Their commitment to professionalism sets them apart from social journalism, journalism solely focused on societal issues.
Professional training will be held in 5 Western provinces this year to study the experience of journalists and media workers. Plans have also been made to hold annual regional training. The inaugural event in the Western region was organized in collaboration with the governor of Hovd province.
Forests cover only 8% of Mongolia, and 1.4 million hectares across 16 provinces have been affected by deforestation brought on by pests. More than 700,000 hectares are at risk of further degradation without urgent and effective intervention. Rio Tinto Mongolia started a Healthy Forest project last year in response to the problem. Their goal is to control forest-killing insects on 300,000 hectares over a 2-year period. The project has financial support provisions that will allow forestry experts to gain professional experience and training in the United States.
Rio Tinto Mongolia has allocated 7.4 billion MNT to support the Healthy Forest project to safeguard Mongolia's forests. Over the past 2 years, concerted efforts have been made to combat forest pests. In 2023, 100,000 hectares have been shielded from pest-induced damage through the aerial application of pesticides. Future endeavors will involve deploying advancement equipment and implementing methods such as the mechanical removal of mold eggs.
If everything goes according to plan, the initiative will spend 3,000 hectares, potentially protecting 1.2 billion trees from extinction. Joint efforts were made this year with the forest departments in 5 provinces, Arkhanga, Urkhanga, Hufsgul, Tsahung, and 2 as well as in the green spaces of Ulaanbaatar city. The program used the biological pesticide BTK. This substance specifically targets insects, posing no harm to plants or humans.
Pests cannot be entirely eliminated with a single procedure. Rio Tinto Mongolia will assist in training future forest specialists by providing scholarships to 4 students researching pest management and forest development.
Thank you for staying with us. Now let's take a look at the currency exchange rates provided by Mongol Bank. Here's the international news from our partner agencies. UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres spoke ahead of the 78th session of the United Nations General Assembly on Wednesday, urging the 193 member states to come together for real practical solutions.
Next week begins the greatest G of all, the G193, the high-level week of the General Assembly. It is a one-of-a-kind moment each year for leaders from every corner of the globe to not only assess the state of the world, but to act for the common good. And action is what the world needs now. We will be gathering at a time when humanity faces huge challenges, from the worsening climate emergency to escalating conflicts, the global cost of living crisis, soaring inequalities, and dramatic technological disruptions. And people are looking to their leaders for a way out of this mess. Yet, in the face of all this and more, geopolitical divisions are undermining our capacity to respond.
The General Assembly marks a crucial milestone in the journey towards achieving the 2030 Agenda and the urgent need to put the 17 Sustainable Development Goals back on track.
This is not a time for posturing or positioning. This is not a time for indifference or indecision. This is a time to come together for real practical solutions. It's time for compromise for a better tomorrow. Politics is compromise. Diplomacy is compromise. Effective leadership is compromise. If we want a future of peace and prosperity based on equity and solidarity, leaders have a special responsibility to achieve compromise in designing our common future for our common good. I remain determined to do everything possible to reestablish the Black Sea Initiative, the exports of Ukraine foodstuffs, and also to go on our work in relation to the facilitation within the sanctions regime of the Russian food and fertilizer products.
Social organizations and left-wing parties marched against the rise of Argentina's right-wing populist presidential candidate Javier Milei, who became the surprise frontrunner for the October 22nd election. Thousands of people marched to Plaza de Mayo and read a statement against the government's economic adjustment policies and the speeches of Milei against the system of public health and education. The extreme right is not a way out because the country has already experienced two extreme right experiences. The military dictatorship that ended in a complete economic disaster, in addition to tens of thousands of deaths, and the government of late President Carlos Menem that was the beginning of neoliberalism, imposed any price that ended with structural unemployment, that to this day we have not been able to improve. So we need to explain, especially the young people who did not experience that, and to those who today see that they have no future, that the way out cannot be because of the crazy things that this man Javier Milei proposes, which is to eliminate everything public, health, education. Milei, an anti-establishment conservative who wants to get rid of the central bank and replace the local currency with the dollar, shocked the South American country's political establishment by receiving the most votes in national primaries. Milei, 52, gained a rock star-like following by raging against the political case on television. He received 30% of the votes in the country's national primaries on Sunday, as compared with 28% for the main opposition bloc and 27% for the current ruling coalition. Sergio Massa, current economy minister and candidate for the Union for the Homeland Coalition, took an overall beating from voters frustrated over the poor state of the economy. The other main opposition coalition, United for Change, moved more to the right as former Security Minister Patricia Bullrich won the party's primary election, beating a more centrist contender. Argentina is struggling with annual inflation of 100%, rising poverty, and a rapidly depreciating currency, and Milei first attracted wider support by calling for the country to replace the peso with the US dollar. Here's the weather forecast of world's major cities. Well, that's all for today. Thank you for staying with us. We'll see you next week with more news and updates. Have a nice weekend. Goodbye.